When we want to do a straight header over the door frame instead of an arch, we use a temporary support like a piece of wood. Then we build the same bag over it, but before we tamp it, we hammer in 2 parallel steel reinforcing bars, normally thicker than 1/2 inch or number 4 steel. These standard steel bars must be long enough to cover the opening plus 1 foot on each side of the opening. The compass guides every inch of the dome, and no part of this small home is formed without it. Even the straight header above the door must curve with the compass. To make an entry porch, we are laying several arches next to each other to create a small vault or straight entry. These kinds of arches are okay for short spans only. All the bags get overlapped and locked in place with the 4-point barbed wire. Because the barbed wire takes up tension, for every row, when we join 2 sections, we twist them together and overlap by at least 2 feet. Now the dome is really coming up. When we reach the upper rings of the entry dome, we need to join the circle of the dome to the straight entry vault shape. This is done gradually, by stepping in small pieces of bag and by reinforcing with barbed wire, so that we slowly meet the compass circle. On these upper rows we must be very careful with the way we build. Experience has shown that the upper rings of a dome must be less in thickness than normal layers, so that we can step them inside more and more without danger of the bag falling down. We constantly check with the compass and shape the bags with a brick. We try not to stand on the soft bag which we are building at the top of the dome. At the time of tamping, we must stand below the soft ring at the top and tamp the bag to slope to the outside. This makes stepping in easier and safer, and also helps rainwater to stay out of the dome. Now that we are building the upper rings of the main dome, the small buckets of earthen material can be thrown up by hand, or a simple pulley can be made out of a bicycle and ropes to lift up larger buckets of earth. Although we start all the rings for all the domes at the same time, the smaller domes will be finished first and can be used as steps to reach and build the taller, bigger dome and the windscoop. The upper bags must be laid very carefully by experienced builders. When the superadobe is laid, it must be constantly shaped and tamped in place as we go along, a few feet behind where the bag is being filled. It should be laid parallel to the bag below and then gently pulled in to a shorter ring so that it slowly approaches the line of the compass and does not project too far inside. This way, caution is used for the upper bags to be secured in place without the possibility of falling down. As the rings step in, it becomes easier to walk on the lower rings while building. They make natural steps to climb up and down, and small pipe is placed at the top of each dome if needed for ventilation. During the construction, we can lay the electrical conduits and plumbing pipes horizontally between the layers of superadobe, or we can cut channels for the vertical conduits. These can be attached with tie wire or with screws. Of course, those who are doing the electrical and plumbing work should have the knowledge of how to install these lines for safety and efficiency. The lines must be tested before plastering over them, so that we are sure that this electrical and plumbing will work well. Then a stabilized earth plaster will cover all of these conduits. For example, the copper pipe for bringing fresh water must be insulated from the earth to stop corrosion, and the black drainage pipes and vents can be plastered into the dome and concealed. Some of the small domes were completely closed, with smaller and smaller superadobe coils. Others were kept open for a small skylight at the top. These rings are made thinner than other rings and it is important to tamp with a slight slope towards the outside.